Hello, everybody. It's me, Dustin Remy, the comic book poser. Apparently, I've hit that point in my life where there's a time where, everybody's body starts to go through changes and your voice will start to drop a ridiculous amount. And I think, maybe I'm hitting late onset, 36-year-old puberty, or after all the rain here in Kansas last week, we've had a bunch of crap, crazy bloom, and my allergies are driving me haywire. So I've had some pretty gross chunks of crap that I've copped up, which is something that none of you want to know. But if I sound different than usual, that's why. So thank you for tuning in. I'm live on both YouTube and Periscope. And I would pay attention today because when you get to the end of the broadcast, I'm going to talk about a giveaway that I will do here in a little bit. So I've got a couple of things that I plan on talking about today. Again, trying something new with StreamYard, and then trying to do things where you're not just awkwardly staring at me. That I've got some images that I'll share, but it'll be kind of touch and go because it's me on one computer. I don't have a second device yet. And I tried screen sharing on my iPad, but I was getting crazy feedback. So I'll try the best to push some buttons and interact with some folks who, comment and things like that. So I've got a couple of things going on today. I got something new in the mail that I'll talk about for a few seconds. I'll talk about the books that I'm reading today. Then I did some research and I'm doing something new for me. I'm going to do a comic book news segment. The second thing that's new, I'm going to feature some of the self-published or small publisher work that I've been reviewing of recent and trying to see if more of you, will check that out. Then I've got my top 5 books from last week that if you didn't pick them up, why you should pick them up. I'm going to go on a lengthy rant about why I'm falling out of love with Marvel, which is super ironic since I'm wearing a Marvel t-shirt today. And then the last thing that I'm going to talk about are the couple of books that I'm planning on picking up this weekend. And when we hit the end of the stream, we'll talk about what's up for grabs in the giveaway and what you have to do or when the giveaway will happen. So literally as I was setting up the stream and getting ready to talk, my doorbell rang and my kids got real excited. My daughter ran downstairs, which is where I'm recording from today, which is why you don't see any of my normal stuff behind me. But she was excited to run downstairs with this heavy box. And I talked in the past about some of my pickups from Rad Raptor Comics through their Facebook auctions in, I think they're in Ayden, Michigan. And I've purchased a lot through them. So I don't quite know which books, which trades, which whatnot are in this haul. But I'll kind of talk about why these books stuck out to me. Or if they mean something significant, or if it's something that people have been recommending for me to read, and then we'll talk about my comic book news and the other things that I'm reading this week. I should have at least cut the bubble wrap for the second video in a row. You're looking at me like a noob, trying to deal with how awesome Jeff and the folks over at Rad Raptor are in packing and shipping some books to me here in the midst of lovely Lawrence, Kansas. While I fiddle with the tape, I'll talk to you about the two things that I'm currently reading. If you pay attention to the blog or the things that I tweet out, on weekends I read exclusively things from independent, self, and small publishers. So some of those works that I wrote about over the weekend, I will talk about today. And then I also spent a lot of time reading Mad Cave stuff. I picked up 2 sets of trades from Mad Cave Studios that I showed on last week's live show. I got the first 2 volumes of Battle Cats, and I got the first volume of Knights of the Golden Sun. And I read those this weekend, and it is really, really freaking fantastic. And if you're looking at checking out some Mad Cave stuff, then I would definitely do that. Okay, so here are the books that I picked up from Red Raptor. So this is The Unbelievable Gwenpool #1, and it's the variant cover that looks like a Gwenpool action figure that I think is pretty cool. I really have enjoyed the Gwenpool stuff that I've read. I don't know what first drove me to it. I think it was I saw stuff that said Marvel on a table and picked it up when it came out. But I really like Gwenpool. I like that she's way more over the top than Deadpool is because she feels like she doesn't get her due. The second is a variant cover to Infinity Wars #1. One of the collections that I almost have every book together on is a floppy copy of all things Infinity Saga, Infinity Wars, Warlock, and the Infinity Watch. That has been something that once I jumped back into the game, I knew I wanted to start collecting and reading. Marvel Knights #14 of the Wolverine run. It's written by Greg Rucka, and I don't know Robertson's first name, but I think that's some pretty cool art on the cover. And if you know how much I love the X-Men and I love Wolverine, that's why I picked it up. I also read Marvel Knights 2020 a couple of weeks ago, and this, uniquely went on sale at the same time. I'm also starting to try and pick up some more Silver and Bronze Age comics that I can't find at my LCS. Oh, hey, it's Metaphorical. Thanks for stopping by. I've seen you comment on a couple of my videos. I think we've been in some of the same chats, so I appreciate you hopping in, saying hi, and mashing some buttons for me. And, if you're not watching this live, but you watch it in a little bit, then follow Metaphorical's advice. Give me a like, give me a subscription, because those will be things that will be important when we talk about the giveaway at the end of the show. But in terms of picking up some of these older characters or older boxes, I really have gotten into both the Invaders and the Defenders. So this is Defenders 110. You can see it's in, good to your, maybe fine condition. That this is something that I will, I'm not terrified to pull out and read, that I'll get the good old school newsprint smell and work from there. I've also started taking a little bit more interest in Catwoman. So this is Catwoman, the Cat File. It's a small trade that came out, I think, in the early 90s. It's written by Chuck Dixon. It's penciled by Joe Belena, and inkers are Bob Smith and Jim Halens. But it's, another good old newsprint trade that I also like to start collecting. And this was produced in 1996, and it collects Catwoman 15 through 19. I've also gone on a crazy collection spree of all things Incredible Hulk. So here you see a pretty decent copy of Hulk 184, and then a beautiful copy of Hulk 185. And I just really like this cover. That, watching a death knell, the shock I never expected. I'm intrigued to see what in the 80s they thought I wouldn't be intrigued by, because I feel like comics have pretty well covered everything now. Here is Scarlet Witch #1, that I'm collecting these things because I do like Scarlet Witch, but I also think this could be a book that I may be willing to sell in the future, especially as the WandaVision series on Disney Plus comes out and it starts to get some heat. There you go. Talking about Warlock and the Infinity Watch. This is a #1, and it's the aftermath of the Infinity Gauntlet storyline. And this was one of the few books that I didn't have, and I think I only picked it up for like $2, so a quarter above 1990s cover price. So I won't complain about that. In terms of some of the other spicy pickups I got, here is a variant of Batman Beyond number 30. I don't read Batman Beyond, but I've started becoming a sucker for the cool cover. So that's why that made the list. In the vein of Warlock and Thanos and Infinity related books, Silver Surfer 45 and 46, which is a cover appearance of Adam Warlock from Silver Surfer, and then Thanos, and I think is that Mephisto on the cover of 46. I've also started becoming very intrigued in the Flash. So here's a variant cover of Flash number 71 with Williamson on the book that I've started enjoying, and I'm going to take more time to slowly dive back into it. The next one that's in here, it was an interesting grab, but when I saw 4 of these for like $10, I was intrigued to pick it up. So on the blog, I reviewed Ludocrats number 1, which came out last week. It's Kieran Gillen's new book, and I liked it because I like a lot of absurd, over-the-top, nonsensy stuff. But this book was getting some hate online, and I very much understand why, because it's a hard read, it's a dense read, it's not super entertaining unless you like that kind of stuff. But what I got was a lot of 4 different variant covers that have the king on the front, and then a different speech bubble on each cover. So there's the blank speech bubble variant. This is 473 millionth printing, but honest, this is the last one, which I thought was funny. We already burned half the print run and are charging triple, which I thought was funny. And then the last one, distract yourself from the meaninglessness of existence by a comic. And this, this I really, really, really want to be my catchphrase, because that's why I've been reading comics. That's what my therapist told me to get a hobby. But, if Chris or Oscar, either the boys from Lawson Comics, check the channel out or check this video out, if they want to amp their let's get lost in some comics up, distract yourself from the meaningless of existence and get into comics. The last one is a book that I picked up last week. I got the Suicide Squad variant, and there was a lot of people looking for the Matina variant of Unkillables 3. Either my store did not get one, or I got there so late that there weren't any. There was the Suicide Squad variant and then the main cover left. So I think this, Matina variant is very, very cool. And as I'm going to try and play catch up on reading Deceased, then I'm going to be very excited. And I'm going to apologize. Daddy! My 3-year-old is down here, as you can hear, shouting, "Daddy." Yes, ma'am. You got your swimsuit on? Or are you going to go play in the sprinkler in the water table?
No, not the sprinkler.
Okay, go play in the water table, big girl.
We just already did the sprinkler.
Okay, go do the water table. There you go. She's been running in on meetings the last 3 days. At least she was fully clothed in this one. She ran into a recorded Zoom session over the weekend, almost naked, and I was like, shit, someone's going to get fired, because that's child porn. Before we talk about the news, the 2 things that I'm currently reading right now, this is Armory Wars Collected Volume 2. It's the Keeping Secrets of Silent Earth 3 storyline. If you aren't familiar with this, it's a book that originally was published by Evil Inc. and is now through Boom Studios. These are the books that connect with all of I think it's the first 4 albums put out by the progressive like rock screamo band Coheed and Cambria. The first book was a freaking trip. The second one is a good kind of iteration of the story as the wars continue. The second thing that I picked up, and I think I also got this from a Rad Raptor auction, it's Thoreau, the writer, Henry David Thoreau, at Walden, and it's a graphic novel. And this was, something that I was interested in just for the reads because I like Thoreau, but it was also an interesting pickup for me because when I teach government, when I teach my speech and debate kids about like civil disobedience or kind of self-enlightenment, we use Thoreau to talk about that. And sometimes it's a hard concept for 14, 15, 16-year-old kids to grasp. So I hope the graphic novel will be a good tool to aid in that. In terms of the second thing that I've got going on today, I want to talk about some comic book news, and here's where I may be lost in Google tabs because I'm probably going to be too slow and inefficient at clicking random images up from time to time. So I used my inner history and government teacher training and made a Google slideshow to augment some of the things that I wanted to talk about today. So in terms of talking about comic book news, I've got three things on the docket that were very, very intriguing to me. The first one is news that was reported by Milton Greep from ICV2 that the new publisher that popped up right before COVID, AWA, or Artists, Writers, and Artisans, has signed a distribution deal with Diamond Publisher. If you don't know who AWA is, you should. Last week when Year Zero came out, it had a lot of hype behind it and a lot of people loved it. These folks released a lot of their number ones online for free at the beginning of the quarantine. And it's led by some heavy hitters. It's led by a former Marvel publisher in Bill Jemas and a former Marvel editor-in-chief of Axel Alonso. And I have not read Year Zero yet, but I read Red Border, which is a dark and twisted tale of migration to the United States because somebody is fleeing cartel violence, and it is amazing. I know the guys over at Comic Burrito. I think two of them love the Hotel Hell story. And I know a couple of people read, I think the first book that AWA published was a book called Resistance. In terms of evaluating whether or not this is good or bad, I think it's mixed. I think it's good for a lot of stores that may not carry a lot of, publishers that aren't like Marvel, DC, Image, that when things make it through, previews, they get the Diamond distribution code, they get all of that with it. It may be easier for people to recommend to their local comic shop. And I think the more people who will read it, the more they can do, the more projects they can take on, et cetera, et cetera. But I think there is a potential drawback to this, as AWA is still kind of in their heavy growing phases as a publisher. Now that they are adding another level to the distribution chain through Diamond, instead of, I think they were direct to shops on their own, it could maybe decrease some of their take and make things a little bit more difficult in terms of their growth. But if more shops can see and start getting their work into the hands of readers like us, then I think that could potentially be a very, very good thing for them. And, regardless of how we all feel about Diamond, good, bad, evil, monopoly, and all of those things, I think at bare minimum, if it helps increase books in hands and gets it into people that might not typically read it, I think that could potentially be a good thing. In terms of second piece of news today, it was announced a couple of days ago that Diamond Publishing and all of their like enterprises that are through the family that like owns Diamond has started an initiative called Back the Comeback. And if you go to the website backthecomeback.com, you can sign up to get more information. But it's something that is supposed to support comic and game stores as things continue to evolve through COVID. Right now on the website, there is a link to where you can buy the t-shirts that have their iteration of, what's written on a traditional stamp of some comics. There's some light detail on an auction that's going to happen through them in July that you can get some updates for. And they've indicated that they have a few other small things that will happen that they have not released to the public yet. And I think this is a good initiative. But here's my question. Why wasn't something like this done sooner? I know that Diamond, were the reasons why new books stopped being distributed at the beginning of the COVID crisis. But we saw several other entities step up to the bar and offer the same kind of support to local comic shops during the shutdown or the non-distribution phase, right? A lot of us participated or attempt to bid and win things from the hashtag Creators for Comics auctions that, it was individual creators from the most renowned, Marvel, DC folks to independent folks, review sites, those kinds of things, trying to get some skin in the game. And these people literally put their stuff up for auction. And if you won something, then you paid a donation to Bink, the nonprofit that advocates for independent bookstores, comic stores, those kinds of things. That happened. We saw several publishers like TKO or SourcePoint Press that if you ordered things from them and listed the name of your comic book shop, you could make sure that some of those sales went to the shop. We've also seen that from some individual creators as well. I think it was Greg Pak that has the same kind of thing going on his website now. We saw Mad Cave Studios create a GoFundMe where they would give that money to stores in need. So these are all good things that have happened. These are all good things, that will help support the stores in the moment where they didn't have new product come in, which may have left some people not entering the store, trying to do curbside pickup or getting things shipped by their store. But why did it take so long for Diamond to attempt to do something like this, to offer some support back to their number one customers, the individual shops? Because if shops, fold, that's a loss of a customer base for Diamond. So why it didn't happen sooner, I don't know. So I think, it's something that will be worth supporting. I think this is one of those things that I might do a little bit of the charity check on in terms of looking at what kind of costs of these are going to overhead in terms of the event versus how much money will actually go to a fund that can help out stores. The last thing that I've got for the comic book news segment today, one of the podcasts that I've started listening to, or webcasts that I've started listening to on Sundays, is the Comic Crusaders International show, where it's three cats that have been around the business for a long time, sharing things about the industry, things about different types of books, and all of those kinds of things. And one of the items that they talked about on yesterday's show is the hashtag on Twitter, @HomeComicCon. And if you follow that hashtag, they are promoting one indie comic and one indie comic creator per day. And if you go to their website, comiccrusaders.com, and you are an independent creator or an independent publisher, you can get, all you have to do is fill out a Google form, and they will find some time to promote you. So much like I used all of the independent creators who were putting stuff out online on traditional Free Comic Book Day, or, I consumed everything under the sun that SourcePoint Press put out during their Free Comic Book Week. If you are looking for new independent talent, new independent books, things like that to get into, then I would most definitely check out the At Home Comic Con hashtag to discover some new folks, right? And if you find things that you like, you find things that you want to support, then by all means, you should definitely support, the artists, the independent creators, and things like that that are prominently, displayed through Comic Crusaders or through GeekFest, as long as the At Home Comic Con runs, right? Because they're trying to help the people who are hurt the most by conventions, and it's the loss of small publishers being able to sell things at an artist's alley or some kind of showcase booth where they will get a lot of foot traffic, a lot of eye traffic, right? It's a way to help elevate them, so those of us who may not see them, be near them, et cetera, can discover some new talent, new books, new things to get into. The second thing that I kind of want to talk about today is dedicating some time to talk about some small publishers or some self-published works that I've seen, read, or looked at over the last couple of days. The first thing is something that I believe I was the first person not associated with the creative team to read this title. I have interviewed the writer, Chris Hornet. This is a manga style, artistic style book written in a comic book form. It's Gray Chapter 1, and Chapter 1 is called Hello Winter. It's something that, after interviewing the creator, looking at all of the world building updates that the team has put on the website, I was very, very excited to wake up to a preview copy in my inbox. And to me, I think this book was very, very powerful. As someone who has not read a lot of manga traditionally, it reached out to me a lot in terms of the way the story gets told. The really, really beautiful displays of how an environment is built, or character motion, or things like that. And this book is still open for pre-order. If you go to their website, thegrayroom.org, you can pre-order Chapter 1. It's only $10. And I believe it's shipped out around the 10th of July when the book is officially open to the public. But it was a fantastic read, in having conversations with Chris, the writer and creator of the universe. That there's been a lot of work put into this over a couple of years. And I think, we should find a way to support those of our own in this creative community who want to go from the step of just reading and consuming things to creating their own stuff and putting it out into the marketplace. So I really loved that a lot. And then Sunday morning, I woke up to an email from the creator of Breakhold. Edwin Ledger, I'm sorry if I butchered your last name, emailed me with the link to the first 6 chapters or parts of the Breakhold story. It's currently up on Webtoons, where you have someone who kind of falls into this weird secondary temporal universe, and at the end of the first chapter, you discover that he's dead. So you're figuring out how this person fuses with two mythical beings in kind of a Billy Batson Shazam kind of way, but in the land of the dead. It does some very cool like back telling, because I think it's once you get to the third chapter or part that's up on the website, you can start to learn about the primary character who we've seen and understand is dead during the first two pieces of the story, and then you get to meet maybe his nemesis. Oh, what's up, Pixar? How you doing, bud? And while Pixar Nerd Studios or Isaac is here, if you look at any of the art that is in the PowerPoint or on my YouTube channel, except for one dumb logo that I can't figure out where to go back and change it, all of this work is done by Isaac. And you can tell me in the comments, Isaac, how your Animal Crossing video is going. That I think I saw it was processing, and then we might expect it tomorrow. If you haven't watched any of Isaac's videos, it's interesting to watch, how someone animates. And Isaac has, helped evolve his videos for idiots like me who can look at and appreciate art but don't understand how it's made, that it went just from like accelerated like screenshots of his drawing to looking at him kind of commenting on the individual things that we're seeing. But I know there's an Animal Crossing video in the works, and you better believe that I'm gonna like and retweet the hell out of that, and whatever you call retweeting something on Instagram, which I think I'm just too old to understand. But if you want any really, really cool art, you can check out Isaac's Twitter page for his information on commissions, or his YouTube channel, which is where you can get some of that information as well. But Breakhold was an interesting read. In kind of emailing back and forth with the creator, he indicated that there's a lot more finished than is up on the Webtoons page, and his goal is maybe late fall, early winter to try and get it published up on Kickstarter. Isaac lovingly says, "You are not an idiot." Isaac, well, I believe that you may be right, that I may not be dumb about a lot of things, but when it comes to me understanding how things are creatively put together, I'm just driven by the other side of my brain. I'm very logical and spreadsheet oriented. I can't draw. My theater design professors made fun of me in college, and I only took the design classes so I could teach a speech class. The third project that I want to talk about, and we'll see how getting this video to play inside the video works, is from Ashcan Comics Pub, or ACP Studios. Y'all know that I have been a huge supporter of everything that they've done since I first heard about them in February. That came from Nate Lindley, the founder of Ashcan Comics. His Twitter today, this was him opening the hot off the presses to him books that will be delivered in June of this month. And you saw in him flipping it, right? All of their books are like zine size, and they're directionally printed differently, where half of the book will be a comic or a short story, and then you flip it over, the other half of the book will be the other thing. So the two items that are coming out in June, which if you go to their website, ashcancomicsPub.com, you can read them now if you pay $3 to join their Patreon. They've got two things coming out this month. Number one is Oath number 3. It's a comic that has been written and illustrated both by Nate Lindley. And then the second half of the book is one of their flash fiction titles, and it's a story called Wired Man. written by Jay Sandlin, who not only has done a bunch of work through but he also is currently the writer on Mad Cave Studios' book Over the Ropes, which I'm going to wait. I think it's a month and a half to pick up and trade because I think the fifth or sixth issue is just about to come out. But his writing is pretty entertaining. The art is done by Fabrizio Pasiti, who Fabrizio has done a bunch of, I think in every Ashcan book that I have read, there is something that is drawn by Fabrizio in it. And the guy is super talented. And it meshes with kind of the ethos of the story quite well. And every time I flip in and I see that there is work by him, I get really, really excited. And then the cover of the Wired Man side is written by drawn by Stoney Williams, who has written some short story or some flash fiction work with Ashcan. He was part of the Vala, the Beastheart chapter 1 that came out 2 months ago, the Kickstarter that wrapped up last week, that he writes and Nate does the art on. And then it was announced a couple of weeks ago at like the literal end of a 5-hour Mad Cave live stream that Stoney's secret project that he alluded to me about is announced. And he's got a Mad Cave book that's coming out, I think, in October, and it's called Villainous. And the small things that we were teased with, I think it was the cover and 2 or 3 pages of images. Looks like it's going to be pretty good time, and something that I've already let my LCS know that the moment you can pre-order this book, I'm in for. But I am a big fan of all things Ashcan. And then when Nate Lindley was interviewed by the Comic Book Club live show 2 weeks ago, he said, I think, the most brilliant sales pitch to the listening audience to see literally everything that they've done. It is $3 a month on Patreon. If you want the print copy, it's like $10 a month. And he said, come check out, give me $3, come check out all the stuff that you like or all the stuff you want. If you like it, stick around. If you don't, it was only $3. And if you email me and tell me something that you're looking for, we can probably make it happen, which I think is a very, very good pitch to try and get people into enjoying that publisher. But like I said, everything that I've read and seen, I like quite a lot. And I'm very excited, to see what those books look like when they pop up month after month on Nate's Twitter feed or the Ashcan Twitter feed. All right. So to the part that one of the 2 parts that I'm very excited about for today, on my blog, pre-COVID, I have 2 mainstay pieces that get written every week. One of them, number 1, is the weekly poll, which is not just my poll list of what I'm expecting for that week or the things that I physically picked up in the shop that day, but then I will look at it and go and, put them in the order in which I decide to read them. And then after I've read all of them, I will write a post that comes out on Sunday or Monday called the Definitive Rankings, which is me essentially re-ranking the books that I, loved the most to the books that were, just okay to me. And I would write a lot about why I put them where. Instead of doing that, one of the things that I want to add to the show that I intend on doing nearly every Monday is to share what my top 5 books are from the last week. That a lot of people do their, weekly rankings on a Thursday or a Friday. I want to do it, Monday or Tuesday before New Comic Book Day. And I think of it this way, right? Some people I know go to their shop multiple times a week. That's the boat I would be in if I didn't have 3 kids. But I know a lot of people, you just go on Wednesday to pick up your new books. So the way that I want to think about it is, if you're going to go pick up new stuff on Wednesday and there are some books that you may have forgotten, you may be more likely to remember these titles as we get into the next week. So I read 11 books last week, and here's my top 5. Coming in at number 5 is Dead Day #1, which was an Aftershock book written by Ryan Parrott and illustrated by Evgeny Bornyakov. I thought this was a really fun story. The way that I summarized it and the preview video from the week before, and then in the review of it on Thursday, was like, what happened if Coco meets the Purge? Like, it's a Dead Day is sort of like Dia de los Muertos, where everybody can ascend from the dead in spirit form for a day. But in Dead Day, it happens once every couple of years based on what we're told, like an alignment of the stars. And everybody that you've ever made contact with that you like or hate could come back. And I think that really could take it in the direction, so many different directions from the events of Dead Day, that I liked it a lot. I know it was the pick of the week for several folks. But for me, Dead Day was good, but I liked a couple other things just a little bit more. Number 4 is The Flash 753 and 754. I think 754 is the book that came out, or was the official DC Flash book from last week. But because my LCS gets their stuff through Diamond still, we didn't have Flash when people that got it through the other like ancillary DC distributors shipped it. So I read these two together and I loved it a lot. And Flash Forward and Flash 750 to present are reasons why I'm reading The Flash. That I picked up Flash Forward on a whim. I picked up Flash 750 because I'm trying to collect some of those 750s or 80th anniversary books from DC. And I just love what is happening with this story. If you are interested in getting into the Flash and have never been a big Flash reader, you just have to pick up 4 books: 751, 2, 3, and 4. That nice arc is kind of setting you up for the weird ongoing crisis. The dude that you see here holding up the Flash is the villain. His name is Paradox. And he's got crazy powers, like the Reverse Flash on steroids. And the events that happen at the end of 754 are something that really could change the nature of what is happening in Central City. The only question that I've been having, a lot of people have said that reading Flash Forward, that 6-issue mini, was going to be necessary to understand what's going on, and I haven't seen a connection yet. But I'm wondering, after the events of 754, if we're going to get some Wally West and some Mobius chair action. Coming in at number 3 is Alienated #3 from Boom Studios. This is a book that I picked up #1 when it came out, before I Marie Kondo'd my pull list. And it was okay. I was intrigued by 3 kids, all variations of the name Sam, find a weird alien thing in the woods. Book 2 got a little bit better. Book 3 is fantastic because I think it does an amazing job looking at the will that each of the individual children have when they are in possession of the little alien fan that we see what happens with Samantha, who is the young woman on the cover of this book, that it primarily focuses on her, this issue, how she deals with the holding of the ghost emotionally, or the alien emotionally, and this book was fire. And I think that this is going to be one of the next big titles out of Boom, that if you don't jump in on the ground floor, then you're going to be in the class of folks that get made fun of for not reading Philadelphia yet. I'm looking at you, entire cast of Comic Burrito. Book number 2 is King of Nowhere number 2. I picked up this book on a whim from just looking at the cover when issue 1 came out. You'll notice, if you haven't read King of Nowhere, the two people on the cover are the two primary characters. Someone who is a seemingly physically normal appearing human being, and then this is literally a salmon dude. And the town of Nowhere, you have a bunch of physically different beings. Like in book 2, you meet a dude who you can see all of his insides because he's got like no skin. In book 1, we meet a dude with an upside down face. So it's, people that are like cross species or have the most wildly imaginative physical deformities that live together and function together. And yet this, normal appearing human male shows up to just on a whim, because he woke up from like a hangover or some shit like that, to see how he operates in the town. I think this book is going to be quite fun, and I'm looking real forward to number 3. And then coming in at number 1 is Rogue Planet. Rogue Planet comes from Oni Press, which are the same folks that do like the Rick and Morty comics. It's a space horror story written by Cullen Bunn with Andy McDonald and Nick Filardi on the art. This was my favorite book because I knew it would be a space story from the cover. I knew it would be a horror story because it's Cullen Bunn and the cover. But I didn't see the twist that happens that makes it a rogue planet or shows what these people are being attacked by. I didn't see it coming, and I really enjoyed it. That this is kind of slowly working its way each time I look at or think about the cover or read the other things Cullen Bunn. It makes me more and more interested. Oh, hey Wes, I just saw your Twitter on my watch. Hopefully you're still listening to the mumbles on here. If not, thank you for stopping by for a hot second. Sorry, I'm drinking because my throat sounds like crap. And I'm drinking because it's 2:00 in the summer. I'm drinking a lovely Firestone Brewery Flyjack India Pale Ale. No, I don't like APAs. No, I don't drink a lot of stuff from Flyjack. I'm drinking it because it's 96 calories, and I'm trying to lose some more weight. Wes is still here, so cheers, Wes. Thanks for stopping by, bud. But yeah, those were my top 5 for the week. And I know that Alienated has gotten a lot of hype. I know that Dead Day has gotten a lot of hype. But I really, really, really loved what's going on in King of Nowhere. And I'm super intrigued that if you give me horror in space via Cullen Bunn, those are all things that make me excited. Topic number 3 for today is going to be a little interesting. 2 weeks ago, when I was listening to the Comic Burrito Show's live stream, in the chat, I went on a quite drunken rampage of why I am frustrated with Marvel at times. The following week, they asked me if I wanted to come on and talk about some of those frustrations, and I went on a relatively lengthy rant. And today I wanted to add some research back to what exactly is going on with the comic end of Marvel, and why what they're doing does not make sense to me. So I went with my favorite Wilhelm Scream song title, Me versus Morrissey, in a pretentiousness contest. But Now it's me versus Marvel. We currently have seen, Boom, Dark Horse, IDW, all of the not big two publishers delay what they're doing, right? Like events are getting pushed back, that what we should be in the midst of death metal starting, and it got pushed back to, I don't know, Wes is here, I think that's like late June. We've seen like smaller publishers kind of make those same kinds of date adjustments as well. But Marvel has just been doing some stuff that has really confused me from both a business perspective and a trying to keep fans hooked perspective. And I think Wes offers the perfect explanation for why some very screwy things are happening. That the House of Mouse has made Marvel worse. That the House of Mouse has done some things to probably help Marvel Studios in terms of money or resources, but it has probably done a lot to hurt business decisions that the comic book side of Marvel gets to do. So we've seen everybody else adapt by pushing back their calendars. I think DC has adapted by, aside from some of their biggest titles or some of these 80th like anniversary or 750 titles, have reduced the number of variants that exist. Like those things make sense to me because you don't want to invest in printing all of these different covers if you don't know if the market is there. DC has created some new exclusive digital content, but they have not shifted any of their existing books to be online only. And I think one of the reasons why I'm frustrated with Marvel first is that, I Marie Kondo'd my pull list using the information that Chris and Oscar put out there, and I made a big old spreadsheet. But I don't know why I wasted all of that time if literally like 60% of the books that I subscribe to from Marvel are getting canceled, or not canceled, but shifted to digital only. And I don't know why Marvel is doing this if nobody else is. And I get that on a given week, I'm probably going to see 30 to 40% more Marvel offerings on the new issue table than I am DC. But to straight up just shift some of this to digital only doesn't make any sense. The second thing, and I'll talk more about that in some of the titles that I'm mad about in a second. But the second thing is, of the first 3 new comic book days after distribution has resumed, May 20th, May 27th, and then upcoming on June 3rd, for 2 of those 3 weeks, we will see no new individual print books from Marvel. We didn't see any on June 20th, and I get that because they had to maybe scramble to get back into the game after DC announced their plans to create their satellite distribution agencies. But we're not getting any new Marvel books this week. That they only have trades coming out. And I'll show you the pattern that Marvel has going on, and we'll talk about why it may or may not make some sense in a second. But they've shifted, on May 13th, 20th, like every new comic book day, they've been shifting some of their ongoing print titles to now digital only. So according to Joe Grunwald of the Comics Beat, the first shift of titles that have gotten moved to digital only are Ant-Man, Avengers of the Wasteland, Ghost Spider, and Ravencroft. There's 4 books off my pull list because I read all 4 of those, and I don't know if I'm going to pick them up digitally. And then the following week, we saw 2020 Ironheart #1 pulled to digital only, Spider-Man Black Cat, like #5, and ongoing moved to digital only, Star #4 getting moved to digital only. And then the last two books of Hawkeye Freefall are going digital only. And for all of these titles, Marvel has said they may show up in a printed form later on. So that just doesn't make any sense to me. The one thing that almost all of these books have in common is that they are lower on the sales chart, right? That I get, but you're not seeing, DC cancel or make digital only something that's not selling right now. DC is using their marketing strategy to increase the number of digital only titles that are tethered to things that people already love, right? I finished Unkillables, and I know when I go back and finish the Deceased run, that I'm going to read the 99 cents an issue online Deceased continuation comic that's coming out. So after that first list, I was like, damn, that sucks, because I subscribed to half of those books. And then starting this week, another several books are being transitioned to digital only across June 3rd and June 10th. And I think I got some of these sales numbers from ICV2, but Revenge of the Cosmic Ghost Rider is gone, and I think that was selling around 12,000 books an issue. 2020 Forceworks #2, which I think that's 2 for 2 in terms of Rosenberg books that they've shifted to digital only. Scream Curse of Carnage, which I think they had at like 14,000 books per issue, is moving digital only. And then Jane Foster Valkyrie, which I also subscribe to, which is selling over 24,000 books an issue. It's the highest cut title by far, is going to digital only. And I don't know why that makes sense. Wes points out something good in the comments. He says that Marvel has actually furloughed a lot of their employees, which would explain why we would see some of these titles being removed. But then the follow-up that Wes adds, they were the only publisher to do so. They're the only publisher to furlough workers, which is another thing that, is definitely a frustrating piece of the puzzle. The other thing that they're doing, instead of DC, which has, announced some trimming of their variant covers, they have just straight up canceled 3 of their planned summer variant events. And again, this comes from Gripe from ICV2. The Living Vampire series of covers, which I think was around 24 or 25 different variants, has been cut. I'm wondering if that maybe be postponed closer to when the Morbius film might actually come out, that I could see that. All of their Dark Marvel variants, which is another 24, 25 covers, have been canceled. And then some of the more limited variants, people have done the hip hop variant before. Marvel is doing a sneaker variant this year. That's gone. So again, straight up canceling 53 different covers throughout is something that is interesting. And I didn't look to see which books had which covers. So it could be maybe some of these digital books being pushed to digital. That could be why. But I don't understand any of this stuff from a business or a gathering fans kind of decision. Like, some of, there are a couple of people at my shop that some of the books that have gotten cut were the only books that they pick up. So now you're doing extra harm to your shops that, you would rely on to sell your product. Because now people don't have an incentive to walk into the door and look at other books if the books that they want they can get on their iPad. The last thing that I didn't add to my notes but just popped into my head, so Marvel has their own digital comic shop that if you buy stuff through their digital comic shop, in the same way that you can take your Marvel codes and put them in the Marvel reader on your smart device and have a digital copy of it there, you could get some Marvel Unlimited points for making digital purchases. And almost the end of May, they sent out an email that said they're discontinuing their digital comic shop and working only with Comixology. That to me is also interesting, because it seems like it's more money that they may lose from not having a revenue point. Now I'm wondering if the contract that they have with Comixology would be something similar to what a publishing company would have through Diamond, right? That they may not be losing that much of a take. But I don't know if I'm going to buy any of the digital books from what's been going from what I'm reading, because that's less money that I can spend at my local shop or another local, somebody else's local shop online. And those are all things that are frustrating to me. But I found some things that maybe are a little bit more redeeming or logical in terms of explaining what Marvel is doing. The first thing that I want to talk about is, there's some very good news out there. They have announced that there will be I think it's 1,277 page New Mutants omnibus that is coming out in December. And it collects some of the 70s and 80s New Mutants titles, some of the annuals that use New Mutants or other tie-in books. That made me real excited because I'm a big New Mutants fan. I like the New Mutants books as much as I enjoyed the old New Mutants books. So if someone's looking to get me a Christmas present, New Mutants omnibus, it'll only set you back like $1.25. The other thing that I've noticed that we might get to see some semblance of order or logic from Marvel is by looking at their pattern of what they have done since distribution resumed through Diamond on May 20th versus what is coming out now. And you'll notice that there's a little bit of a pattern. So on June 3rd, all of the books that are coming out this week are literally only trades or some kind of collected edition, right? So you can get Whedon and Cassidy's run on Astonishing X-Men. You can get the new Ghost Rider run. You can get Spider-Man and Venom, right? But you cannot go pick up a new print Marvel book this week. You can only go buy, trades or other collections. Next week, June 10th, there are 6 new books coming out and no trades. June 17th, all trades. June 24th, you start to see a little bit of both. Right? So everything here on the left column, you can get some of these books back in print. And the weird thing to me is in knowing that some of the other Iron Man 2020 titles have been pushed to digital only, like ForceWorks and Ironheart. Why continue Rescue, which is an offshoot in print, versus digital only, right? I get not cutting Iron Man 2020 number 4 because that's the nut of the series. I'm real excited to see that I can get my next Spider-Ham book because I think I would kill somebody if I couldn't keep getting Spider-Ham books, not just for me, but there are 2 books that my son and I would read together when they came out, the new run of Ghost Spider and Spider-Ham, and now we're down to that. And I'm excited to see the next Thor Kate's book, or next Kate's Thor book. And then we have a couple of print items or trade items that come out on June 24th. But then on July 1, it reverts back to only trades only. July 8th, it splits back to here are new books, here are some trades, and then they're doing a couple of the reprint books that like they and DC have done. And I wonder why Marvel is continuing with the reprinted books because the only thing that DC has canceled are reprint issues. That makes sense. So again, why is Marvel getting rid of or pushing some titles to digital, and DC is getting rid of, not doing that? Marvel is continuing their reprints. DC is not. It does not make much sense to me. When you get to July 15th, you start to see a normalization back in how distribution would happen, that the number of books and trades that are eligible to come out each week, is around 15 to 20 books and a ridiculously long list of trades and merch. So it looks like it's going to take, them some time to normalize out. They've pushed their coming big event of Empire to, I think it's the end of June, around the same time when Death Metal got pushed to. So some of those decisions make some sense to me, but other things that Marvel's doing, it doesn't. I don't understand what they're doing, and it's hard for me to want to give them money, especially like I want to make the decision if I've got singles and, of all the singles of a book, if I want to go back and buy the trade. But I'm not going to let Marvel force my hand on the titles like Jane Foster or Ghost Spider or Avengers of the Wasteland or, Free Hawkeye, as the Lost in Comics boys say. I don't know if I'm going to go back and give them that money if I can't collect them in my preferred format anyway. And I think, for all of those reasons, I'm having a falling out of love with Marvel because it's hard to get things consistently. And I get that we're in a global pandemic, right? I am not ignorant of that because I've been imprisoned with my 3 small children for the last, 10, 12 weeks? I get it. But in terms of looking at what they are doing versus their number one competitor in DC versus everybody else out in the field of any other publisher that is or is not distributing through Diamond, it doesn't make any sense. And I don't know why they're doing that. And, I'm stubborn enough to think that someone probably owes me an explanation. Will they give me one? No. But I'm going to be pissed and stubborn because that's me. 2 things left. I want to talk about the books that I plan on picking up this week. And I want to talk about the next giveaway that you will see happen. So since my local comic shop has the website interface that I think is what is connected to like Diamond's ordering platform for pull lists, that hasn't been updated with all of these new dates yet. So I had to look at 2 different websites to get a clear picture of what's coming out. And the one that I use primarily for all of the information is from League of Comic Geeks. Again, no Marvel, so it's going to be a lighter week for me. But in terms of books that either I'm already subscribing to or books that I know I want to pick up, I've got 4 DC picks this week. The first is Batman Superman number 9. That book has been on my pull list since number 1 came out, right? And grabbed it because it had Batman and Superman's name on it. It's actually been a pretty interesting story where you see both of them kind of take on some of their villains that they share together. The last bit of the arc wrapped up where you saw somebody attempt to reopen a Lazarus pit to gain some power, and Batman and Superman had to use their different expertise with either technology or the villain to stop that from happening. I thought that was pretty cool. Event Leviathan Checkmate number 1 comes out. So we had Event Leviathan, which was figuring out who Leviathan was. You had Leviathan Dawn, which was the one shot that came out like 2 weeks before COVID. And now Leviathan Checkmate is going to continue that mantle. And I'm very excited about that book. That I think that's Bendis and Maleev, who were at least on the last two titles. I don't know. I think Bendis is still on Event Leviathan, so I'll still give it, or Leviathan Checkmate, I'll still give it a look. And then the other two things I've got pick up are the Catwoman 80th anniversary book to look at, and then Birds of Prey #1 comes out this week. From Dark Horse, there aren't any physical books that are coming out that are anything that I'm currently reading. But if you enjoy Christopher Cantwell, the trade of his book, Everything, is coming out this week. It's the two names that I remember off the top of my head are Cantwell, and I think it's I.N.J. Colbert is the art on that book. It is a boo capitalism, evil corporate forces are infiltrating a town that is essentially brainwashing the people that, you go to everything, even if you don't need something. Like, imagine if Amazon.com had physical stores set up in every single town. That's what we would, do. Oh, Wes got to read Birds of Prey #1 and says it's good. And you've all seen me tweet or write on the blog. If Wes says something is good from DC, I'm going to trust him, especially when, now I can't remember the trade that he tweeted out, where Comics The Gathering was featured as the first comment on the back cover above IGN, and Wes was pretty excited about that. So I know I can always rely on Wes for, is it a good or is it a bad DC title barometer. But the Everything trade comes out. If there's some interesting back matter, I think that's something that I would both buy the singles, buy the trade on. From Image, there's one book that I currently subscribe to that's coming out this week that I'm going to get, Reaver, #8. Reaver was the trade that came out in February. Jason sent me one in one of my mystery orders from him, and I really, really liked the Dirty Half Dozen mythical quest version. I thought the use of the dark magic and kind of the interesting elements of fantasy were good there. Yeah, that's where it is. So if you were a big Rise of Kylo Ren fan or a big Star Wars fan and go buy that trade and you see Comics The Gathering is the first quote listed on the back cover above, the beast that is IGN, you can find Wes, and don't give him a high five. You can give him some elbow bumps, because I think science says you can't get the COVID from an elbow. The other Image book that is coming out this week that I'm going to pick up the #1 on, because people told me I should read the Namesake series. Nailbiter Returns comes out, so I'll pick that book up because, as people have started to figure out what kind of things I do and do not like, then I'll give it a check. And, if y'all are starting to get a good read on me, then I'm going to start putting up a bunch of polls everywhere, and y'all tell me what the hell to read, since all of my Marvel shit has been moved to digital and I'm not fucking buying it. The last book that I have on the pull list, and it's one that I'm really, really excited for, from Vault, Finger Guns #2 comes out. Book 1 was fucking amazing. I missed it on its release date. I saw everybody tweeting about it online, and then when I walked into my shop, there was a slightly damaged copy in a dollar bin. And I was like, yeah, I'll pick up some Finger Guns for $1. And it's hilarious, and I think it's going to be weirdly emotionally moving. here soon too, because of the two primary characters. They both have fucked up homes for a different reason. And they give you a little pew pew or pew pew. It does different things to you. So I like the idea of that. I just think it's a brilliant device that we can all relate to a little bit. And the writing is fun. The art has the same kind of wit to it in some of the things. So I really enjoy that book. If you think there's anything else that's coming out that I would like or I'm missing, or if your name is Wes Greer and you think there's a DC series that's coming out that I'm not going to pull, that I could easily pick some books up to play catch up, then you can let me know here in the comments, or you can send me a message on either Twitter or Instagram. The last thing that I want to talk about, and then, oh God, it's been an hour and 15 minutes, but if you watch this long, then you know the same hell that some of my students have to go through on a block day. In one of my last videos, I showed a variant cover that I picked up from my shop last week that has some implications for some of the stuff that's coming out. So I picked up a variant cover from Dark Knight's Metal #1. I think I actually just closed the tab that had the name of the artist on here, but it's a Midtown Comics variant. And in 2 seconds, I'll see the guy's name again. It's a Simon Bisley variant cover. You can find these, like, if you don't give a shit about what I talk about and you want to go spend $10 of your own money on Midtown's website, then bully to you, my friend. But I've decided, as I'm going to start creating more content for the YouTube that supplements the blog or offers something different, I as sure as shit will not create more videos that are an hour and 17 minutes long. That maybe I'll aim for the humane 5 to 10 like everybody else, and I'll come up with things that I promise aren't more unboxings, but I'm already pot committed on that shit show, and I've started understanding a lot more things, which will make some of my mystery box commentary a lot less me going, I don't know what that is, let me Google it. But Dark Knight's Metal, I will create a very small, very simple contest once we get to 100 subscribers on YouTube. I think we're at 23 now. So as I take things a little bit more seriously and start engaging with others, once we get to that 100, I will tell you the 2 things you have to do to be able to hop in on the drawing for this sweet variant cover. I'll also tell you the other 2 things that I got working on as I continue to work to increase my imprint on both Twitter and Instagram. Last week I bought and read all 5, I think they were first printings of the Image series Little Bird that came out starting in February of 2019. And then I watched Bruce and Stephanie's Comics and Beer on Friday and answered one of their trivia questions correctly and got another run of 5 first prints. So I think when I get to 500 followers on Twitter, that and a few other things that I'm trying to get my hands on will be up for grabs there. And then I'm still working on A, how to use Instagram consistently because I take shitty pictures, and B, what I could give away once I hit a certain number of followers. But if you've made it to this point in the video, or you see me tweet this once I'm done talking and I go upstairs and acknowledge the fact that I have, a wife and children upstairs, you can hopefully help you find some people that will come over to my channel and hit that like button, that subscribe button, and all of those other good YouTube phrases that I need to get into my vernacular, since I discovered in talking to the guy from the shop that Jason said that the podcast over there won't resume until like the middle of July. And since I'm going to need to use words in the direction of a camera, and maybe I'll try doing some like recorded interviews instead of me just using Google Docs with people. As I continue to grow, I want to make this more worthwhile and not an hour and 20 minutes of pain for the rest of you. But for those of you who have kind of tuned in and out throughout the live broadcast, thanks for sticking with me. For those of you who have, hopped into the chat, like Metaphorical, Wes, Isaac, the Pixar nerd, thanks for peeking in and chatting with me. And for everybody else, hopefully you check me out. I think what I will do with this live stream is maybe chop it down into the 5 requisite pieces of what I talked about today and see if that's a little bit more easy to digest for some folks. But remember, once we hit that, that coveted 100 subscriber mark, then this cover will go away. I'm being hollered at by my wife. I'll go upstairs. So thanks for stopping by and have a good one.